All right. Welcome. My name is Jerry Cabazzuto from godislovetruthlife.com or godislovetruthfreedom.com because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. And today I have my amazing returning guests, Dr. Dustin Plattner and Jeff. Yay.
Hello, hey everyone.
And do you guys want to start by plugging your websites?
Yeah, Jeff, you go for it.
Uh, my name is Jeff Hammond. I still haven't made a website. I just have a YouTube channel. It's called Decentralizing Mind Control.
Nice. My name's Dustin Plattner. I have my advocacy website, my activist website, freeasabove.xyz, where I talk about objective morality and natural law. And I create a little computer for digitally sovereign computing called sovereignsystems.com. And then also I'm trained in clinical psychology and I work with children and families, and that's drdustinplattner.com.
Nice. Today the topic is veganism. I invited both of you because I think we're all kind of on the same page in our understanding of why uh, veganism is important. And so, yeah, maybe before we jump into that topic specifically, we could start with talking about why teaching natural law is important, and then segue into that topic. Does anyone want to start, or maybe I could, or how are we feeling?
Yeah, I'll go first on that one. The key is to understand how this world works and how everything fits together. The foundation of us as a species, we have to be moral first. And that's what's really important for us then to build and expand is getting our morality correct. And morality is just simply taking an action that does not initiate stealing of another sentient being's property. That's it. That's what morality is not stealing a sentient being's property. So with that known, and that is the that's morality, then well, if we go against that, then there's a lot of like negative stuff that comes back to us over and over again. And so if you don't want to suffer, well, then stop stealing property. And then in regards to what we're going to talk about is veganism. And so a sentient being is, right, any animal that has emotion and seeks emotional care, and their life is not our property. And if we take it, it's murder. So
They
this is the
definitely
beginning.
deserve. They deserve to have the non-aggression principle practiced on them, just like a human being.
Correct. Yep. So this is the why at the beginning of natural law, of understanding natural law.
Nice. Jeff, did you have anything to add?
Well, government is slavery. A lot of people don't recognize it as slavery. Um, they don't understand that they've been conditioned not to recognize it. And instead of getting mad at their enslavers, they're more likely to get mad at the people who point out that it's slavery. They don't want to admit it. They're conditioned to lie to themselves. As long as they're comfortable and entertained, they're slaves who love their slavery, and they they want to keep it. But if you stop them from lying to themselves, make them actually recognize this condition of slavery, and then it could get a lot better if we end this condition of slavery. I think they would want to save themselves, and also if they knew what's coming, like the Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, she was like making a lot of urgency, saying we've only got 12 years left to save the planet. Um, it's less than 12 years now, but it's the agenda 2030. They want to make complete tyrannical slavery, and that's coming up in like 6 years. And no, she was trying to make she was trying to make some excuse like the world's going to end if we don't like ramp up the slavery to complete tyranny. and it's absolutely not true. But since the society engineers, they write out their plans, they tell us what they're doing, they have these agendas, and the goal is to have these 15-minute cities by 2030. You know, we have to recognize we have this condition of slavery and end it quick, or else it's going to get something. It's going to progress into something that we can't help but recognize as slavery, and it's so tyrannical we won't even be able
And
to leave our own houses.
yeah, and more
So,
suffering on top of that. That's right. So yeah, really having to recognize the bed we've made and now what we're in, so we can actually get to freedom. But yeah,
and
there's
slavery, crime,
Mhm.
and government, they're all like they all pretty much mean the same thing. Just wrongdoing. The objective difference between right and wrong needs to be understood, and then we
Yep,
uh,
that's the morality. Yep.
not understand use this whole condition of slavery.
Oh, Jeff, your audio went. I can hear the fan in the background, Jeff, on your audio.
Yeah, your audio for some reason shifted, and now we can hear a fan or something.
But it was sounding really good. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of dovetailing off of what you both shared. Whether it's government, carnism, the eating of animal parts, and dairy milk secretions.
Yes.
It's all. I was saying in our pre-conversation that yeah. Oh, Jeff
Mm.
left. Crap. That yeah, carnism, the belief in government, um, you know, religions, organized religions, and money are like
Yes.
the top four, you know, traps, moral traps that we've set for ourselves as a
It
society.
correct. Yeah, and it builds a culture around us. I think that's one way in which to sort of explain what you just said, Jerry, is this culture that's built around us with religions, with money. What's up? Welcome back, Jeff. With
Excuse me, I got a phone call and I declined it, but yeah,
oh, okay.
I'm recording on the phone. I got locked out of the volume until I left and came back.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, we were talking about Jerry was saying like money and religion. Yeah, religions are these things that press into us, and eating animal parts and animal secretions is this sort of system that's in our environment. And I was referring to it as like a culture that we're in. Culture really keeps influencing us and influencing us. How we grew up, what's in the family systems, what mom and dad thought, what uncles and aunts thought, what grandparents thought, all this comes into us, and it sort of programs us in a way. And cultures, our environments can be immoral. And then we learn that, and then we keep perpetuating that moving forward. And that's one of the hardest things is to understand that, hey, when our culture is immoral, what do we do? What are the next steps to take actions that are moral?
Awesome. So yeah, segueing into the topic of the day, veganism. I think, for me, realizing how evil it is for us to slaughter animals for our consumption and use. I watched the Earthlings documentary. I don't know if you guys watched it also. Dustin saw it. Jeff, did you see it?
I think so. I I don't remember. I've seen quite a few documentaries.
Yeah, there's plenty for sure. I can link the Earthlings one in the episode description later. But yeah, just I think um,
Oh, maybe not. You
seeing.
know, the one that really opened my eyes that like I really should start like I should stop like contributing to the whole animal industry was Cowspiracy.
Oh yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen
Um,
that. Okay.
I feel like that one's good, but it only goes halfway in that like it doesn't do enough to talk about um like other meat industries outside of the beef one, right? But for sure,
Oh, okay.
the
Oh,
beef
Cow
industry,
Inc. Cow Inc. Is that the movie you said?
Cowspiracy.
cowspiracy.
Oh, Cowspiracy. Okay. I think it was Food Inc. Okay, never mind. Okay, yep, I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Um, but yeah, like seeing what I feel like if you're gonna eat meat, like you should watch documentaries like this to see how your food's being sourced and look hard in the mirror and ask yourself if you want to contribute to that system. And one can say, oh, okay, well, I'll just, fish or hunt. But even then, it's like I don't really feel like you have the right to take the lives of animals that are roaming wild either. What
Mhm.
are folks' thoughts on this,
Yeah.
or
I
just
I
on veganism in general?
yeah, so the topic of veganism, the reason why this is so important because it always starts with morality. That's the very first thing. No matter how you branch and argue it or any other opinions or beliefs. We're not talking about opinions and beliefs, and you can go in that realm, but it has to be funneled down into morality, which is a science of understanding of what harm is and what stealing of property are. That's the key that has to be understood. And once one understands that, like we do, then you will realize, oh yeah, this behavior is stealing of property. And so I think any argument or any conversation about um, veganism versus carnism, those two things, it has to start with morality first, because as that happens, then um, people can really get on the same page with that, because that's an offer they can't refuse, meaning that is another being's property that you're taking that you have no right to take. Now if you want to argue that piece, I think that's a good place to start, to talk about, well, anyways, if you want to argue in that realm, I think that's a good realm to start. But as you think through it honestly, you'll still come to the conclusion that that animal did not want their property to be taken, their life. And so, again, to start this conversation, I think it has to be foundationalized in morality. Then from there, then other thoughts and ideas can be added in.
Like the big part of morality is the non-aggression principle. It basically means uh, don't initiate harm to anyone else. The only way it's justified to use force against someone else is in self-defense or defense of another innocent being. But
Correct.
what is harm? Who defines harm? It's the owner of the property. And property is an important thing because reality has a physical aspect and also a mental aspect. And life
Mhm.
forms are the connection. Life forms have free will. Free will is really the connection between the physical and the mental aspects of reality. We use our free will to choose decisions with our mind to take action in the real world, the physical world, and the mental
Correct.
world is real as well. But these
Yep.
actions, they can be defined as right or wrong by whether they do harm. And if you're doing harm, you're violating another being's free will. The har- Harm is like harm to life in general. Like the whole point of the universe is life. Like the wrong
Mhm.
actions. Whenever you violate something's free will, you're diminishing the life force of the planet and of the whole universe. When you're doing when you're doing wrong actions, when you're doing right actions, you're increasing the life force. Wrong actions are diminishing the life force. They're working towards death and chaos. And the occult sciences have proved this. The occult
Correct.
consists of like hidden sciences, but they've broke down morality to a science. They've got something called the law of freedom, uh, where they've determined and proved that every action you take that's wrong, that hurts another being's free will, or violates another living being's free will, works towards death and chaos and destruction. Will experience it as like creating
involution.
a hell.
Yep.
But the opposite of involution is evolution, where life form is evolving to thrive and succeed. And like the more right actions we choose instead of wrong actions, the more we're creating a paradise instead of a hell for our own environment. And to choose these right actions, it's a real simple guide. It's follow this non-aggression principle. And basically, if you categorize potential actions as rights, right actions, or wrongs, wrong actions. And if something's wrong, it does do harm, it does violate the free will of another living being, simply don't do it. Live your life where you decide all your actions were, you, you recognize something's wrong, you don't do it. Like uh, complying with government, paying taxes is wrong. If you can avoid paying taxes, don't do it. But if you're being obedient on purpose, it's not a virtue. You're contributing to a force that's enslaving the whole planet. Don't vote. Don't
Just get out of it.
steal
Yeah, get out
from
of
your
it.
neighbor. Like, if you're tempted to own something that's not yours, don't steal it and take it away from someone else so they don't have it anymore. It's like common sense, most of these things. But all of these rights and wrongs should be extended to all living beings. Animals, they feel pain, they have emotions, they have a will to live, just like you and I do. They probably they're a pig's life probably means as much to a pig as your life means to you, whoever you are. And
Yeah.
it's a very wrong action when you abuse an animal, when you consider it property, when you kill it. And like these more wrong actions, these multiple wrong actions that we do, they accumulate and they aggregate to create a hell for us. And yeah, by these occult sciences, it's proven that like humanity cannot be free unless we are moral, unless we stop doing wrongdoing. And another a study of occult sciences is the Hermetic principles. There's 7 of them. And one of these 7 is as above, so below. They've recognized patterns where there's a macrocosm and a microcosm. You could zoom in or zoom out from any pattern you're looking at, and you find the pattern repeating. A good example of that is fractal images, but also like the morality. Like if we zoom out from humanity, look at the ones enslaving humanity. They're other humans, but still, like humans don't want to have this condition of slavery. The only way it's going to happen is if we stop practicing slavery on our fellow humans and on our fellow life forms on the planet. It's
all the earthlings. Yes.
Yes, it's a proven science. For Earthlings to be free, Earthlings have to stop enslaving other Earthlings. If we're practicing slavery on Earth, we're gonna live on a prison planet, and we're gonna all be slaves. Not many are gonna make it to the top of the hierarchy and be a pure slave master like the royal families, and even them, they're not true sovereigns. A sovereign is above rule, and they're ultimately ruled by fear. If they weren't ruled by fear, they have no reason to oppress everything else. They'd let everything else thrive and grow along with them. But like the true slave masters, no, they're afraid to evolve themselves. They'd rather rule in a devolving hell than than thrive with other living beings in a growing paradise of nature.
Yeah, you covered a lot of ground there. For
Mhm.
sure, like this idea of evolution or involution, right? Like a common argument that I see for those that eat meat are the way folks justify carnism is, oh, well, if you look out in in nature, we see lions eat. See, I hear some sort of background noise.
Oh, I think you're getting a
Sorry.
call again, Jeff.
Is it okay if you mute Jeff? Sorry, just because of the background noise.
Oh, there, it's gone now.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think when you get a
Same
phone
thing.
call,
I'm
it pops.
sorry. I keep getting these calls. I've got to leave to get the Bluetooth back.
Oh, no
Okay.
worries.
All right. All right.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like people justify carnism by saying, oh, well, lions eat gazelles, so why can't I eat
Mhm.
whatever, my burger? And to me, that argument's saying, oh, well, look at this effect that we've caused in nature. It's hard to prove, right, that like we're the cause, because the cause and effects are so far removed sometimes. But um, it's possible, I cannot prove it, that the reason why lions are eating gazelles, right, is because of the immorality that we exhibit and put out in the world. Um, what are folks' thoughts on that idea or topic of evolution, involution?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. So in speaking of the arguments against the moral aspect of veganism, right? So you don't want to harm anyone and don't harm any sentient being, meaning that means stealing their property, which is their life. So then there's arguments in the carnist community, the carnism community, where they talk about what you said, Jerry, about, well, the lion eating the gazelle and things like that. Animals do it, so we should do it. That's one of the arguments. There's a few other ones. Well, with that argument, number one, we are not, by our nature, we do have an animal nature, but we're also way more than that. So we can reduce ourselves down to an animal nature. But we have the capacity. So what makes us not that is we have the capacity for a holistic intelligence. So that then puts, then natural law then applies to us. Natural law meaning if you transgress, steal property from a sentient being, and there's 7 properties that you can steal, and if you steal those properties, then the consequences of natural law come back onto us. So that means, that system's called natural law. So that law that's built into nature, it tags us because we have holistic intelligence. And what that means is we know, since we have a higher thinking process mind, we know the difference between a right action and a wrong action. We can understand the difference. That's then gives us holistic intelligence. Animals can't sit and reason and write down, this is a wrong behavior, this is a right behavior. They don't have that capacity to think in that abstract layer. Therefore, they do not have holistic intelligence. Therefore, they will do that animal nature process of them. But I have evolved myself outside of my animal nature. I'm a holistic being now, and I've already built into me holistic intelligence. So therefore, I have that capacity, and so that is a poor argument. And that I qualify that as a poor argument. Well, then animals do it because it's not very sophisticated. It's very, it's not sophisticated. It's very just heavy-handed, and they're not thinking in that process. So that's how I would respond to that particular argument. Now there's a few other ones, but that's one of them. Yes.
I agree that's not a good argument. I don't disagree. I kind of disagree with your response only because of semantics. I mostly disagree with what you said, but I mostly agree with what you said. But I think we are distinguished from other animals, but I consider us as animals. I think it's true by the etymological meaning of the word. I think the base of the word is animation, animated. We're not
Mm-hmm.
planted in the ground like plants are.
Mm-hmm.
We're animated. We can because we can take action. But the difference between us and other animals is we take this conscious action because we do have the capacity for holistic intelligence. We can understand the difference between uh, right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't think we're so separated. I think all life forms are evolving to be like higher level life forms. I think
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the descendants of the animals will descend to be will evolve to be uh, uh, life forms with a capacity for holistic intelligence, where they do understand right and wrong. I think plants will evolve to that level at some days. Same with microorganisms, and we probably evolved from microorganisms. All the complex life on Earth probably started as microorganisms. Now, there's other theories on that. That's debatable, but that's what I think. We definitely have microorganisms living inside of us. Uh, like the probiotic bacteria in our stomach, they're totally autonomous organisms. And even inside our cells, there's archaea uh, that have a function. Like they float around in the cytoplasm and they send signals. They make our cells
Mm.
function. Our cells wouldn't even function without smaller autonomous organisms living their own life, individuals inside of us.
That's
From
awesome.
their point of view, we're just their environment. But from our point of view, Earth is just our environment. But I think it's a living, evolving thing. Like I think the whole planet is evolving. So is the whole universe. I think it's all alive. But this evolving planet, evolution, has been proven to not rely solely on the DNA programming. The mental level of reality, the consciousness, affects the evolution. And you know, the being that has right actions is going to evolve faster. Like all of Earth is going to evolve better.
Mm.
They're doing right actions. And also, you look at it as like a closed system. You want it to be efficient with its resources. Symbiotic behavior is more efficient, where
Mm-hmm.
everything
Mm-hmm.
is pulling their own weight and creating and sharing instead of some creators get consumed by consumers. That's less efficient. And like for the evolution of the whole planet, the best way is to like have a symbiotic lifestyle. And you know, like Earth within the universe, or the universe within something bigger. Like I think like you can look at the patterns, as above, so below. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think if we're parasitic toward like enslaving other humans, enslaving other earthlings that aren't humans, or predatory instead of uh, symbiotic as individuals on aggregate, I think the whole life form that we're part of, the whole Earth, or maybe even the whole universe, could be like a parasitic uh, microorganism on something even greater than the universe. And maybe that thing would want to like take some medicine and destroy the parasite. But if we're symbiotic on the microcosm, I think we might be symbiotic on the macrocosm, and like more in line with whatever is the next scale up from our universe. So, so, so that we're we're contributing to life, not death, and the whole life force bigger than the universe that we're part of is going to want to keep us as a healthy part of itself, not
Mm-hmm.
like like we'll become a disease on the universe if we're predatory towards each other on the planet.
Yeah. I like that, Jeff. But yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, if we're using a sort of like pathology analogy, karma, natural law,
Mhm.
works really well as an immune system against morality,
Mm.
right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
if we are as conscious, holistically intelligent um, beings. Um, I, you're right, Jeff. If you look at the
That's
etymology of the word animal, it comes from the Latin animale, living being, being which breathes. And so, if we're going with that, then yeah, sure, beings, holistically intelligent beings. If we're acting immorally, if we're tying it back to the topic of the day, you know, enslaving and murdering and violating the rights of other sentient beings that we consider lower than us, then we are going to lead to our own self annihilation through these immoral
Correct.
actions that we choose. And taking it out of the metaphorical and into the literal, having had, and I'm just going to speak more openly about this now on my podcast and in general. I have had contact with extraterrestrials, and they're not wanting to give us more advanced technology because we would fuck shit up with it, and for good reason, right? Like we're fucked up in the minds. We need to get our morality straight for us to evolve as a civilization, and we're not gonna, get to collaborate with other civilizations if we don't prove ourselves on an individual level, and of course on the aggregate scaled up.
Yeah, that's
that, that's
brilliant.
a that's a really good analogy because like I I do look at everything as I look at the macrocosm, the microcosm, and uh, like how I want evolution to to succeed for everything that I'm part of. That analogy of the karma being like the immune system. That's a totally accurate way of looking at it because yeah, it's like the predatory behavior is like a disease, and the karma natural law like uh, fights against it, so life can be healthy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
another thing I wanted to say, I mentioned it in our on the zombie apocalypse podcast, but it's about veganism, and that's what this video is about. So I was talking about the epigenetic influence, the on evolution, the influence of the mentality on the the evolution of a life form. Um, Maybe as it's developing or over generations as it evolves, it changes based on the mentality. Like it's shown that people with similar names have similar faces. Like even like the uh, the mental impressions of a certain name, like knowing that is your name, it affects the way your face develops as you're
Mm.
growing up. That's something that's recently been proven in a new study. But um, there's also like something that's been noticed, the 100th monkey effect. They've noticed that it's they've done studies to prove to find evidence of a collective unconsciousness within a whole species. Like we're we're a life form, but like we're part of bigger life forms between the individual and the planet. There's the whole species. The whole species like functions as one unit in a way, and not consciously, but much more on the subconscious level. So with the 100th monkey effect, they've noticed that they could uh, take a monkey that's totally isolated from its population of monkeys. Like they could be on an island and they take it off the island. But they teach all these monkeys on the island how to use a saw or how to use some type of skill. And then that 100th monkey who's separated from the rest of its population, it automatically knows the same skill. But um, a lot of people like I kind of missed part of the conversation. I left the chat, but I heard you were talking about the lion and the gazelle, and people are saying that's the natural way because there's predation and brutality happening in the organic natural world, so it must be the way of nature. See, humans have the most highly developed level of consciousness. We understand right and wrong, and there's another theory that I believe that Earth itself has a collective unconsciousness of all the species, and since humans have such a big portion of that consciousness, we have. I mean, all the other beings are sentient, and they think and feel they deserve to live as much as we do, but we have a more developed level of consciousness where we could know the difference between right and wrong, and I think we have a bigger effect on the uh, collective unconsciousness of the whole planet, and
Yes.
that mentality of the planet affects the evolution of the planet, and
Yes.
uh, there's a possibility that if humanity stops enslaving each other and eating animals and practicing the whole meat industry and everything, that we might see the like the organic life like follow what humans are doing. Like we might have such a big impact that like the wild species evolved to be symbiotic instead of predatory. Maybe in a few generations we'll see like what the Bible said would happen when the Savior saves the planet, that the lion will lay with the lamb. That could
Mhm.
be a interpretation of the Bible verse.
Mhm. Well, and you were talking about also, Jerry, and you, Jeff, were talking about the morphogenic field and morphogenic resonance, and that's right. I like the predatory language because we're a predatory species. We shouldn't be, but we're behaving that way, right? And so, and as we do that, it creates more suffering into the planet, and which then echoes more and more. And then, yes, the
Towards
planet
each
has
other, like
and the
whenever we
planet has a
violate rights.
consciousness. Yep. And a planet has a consciousness as well. And so this sends this awful energy across everything on this planet. And as you're talking about the universe, the law of correspondence, right? And Hermetic philosophy. Um, and yes, going back to your point, Jerry, the reason why one idea that I'm holding and a theory that I'm holding, the reason why animals behave that way is because of how we have been treating them. So they behave that way as well. And the brutality and things like that. So, I guess what I'm saying is everything's connected, as you two were alluding to. Everything's connected, and as what we put out into the energy field, then that gets spread across, and then it comes back and swings back around. And so this is why there's suffering on this planet because of our actions, and in specific, how we treat innocent animals. That's the issue why the suffering happens.
Yeah, this actually, I wanted to ask you on this podcast, Dustin, because you work with children and families. I talked about it in one of our gilded groups, but um, like, let's say you're a vegan parent and you're trying to teach, you know, right living, um, vegan eating habits to your children, and then your co-parents feeding them meat, dairy, when it's their turn with the kids. How do you recommend navigating such a dilemma?
Yeah, that's a big one. I think advocacy is the first place you start. So using your voice, right? Um,
Yeah.
so use your voice, and with your children, teaching them morality, right? And then you show how morality then extends to animal life. Um, Logically, that's how it works. Logically, that's how it works. If you understand morality, don't steal property. Um, So that's one thing you can do is advocate that to your children, teach them that, and then you live by example. And then when you use your voice, that's using force. Your force is any action is force that you put in. So force, as you're teaching your children, you're using force to stand up for what's right. And then with the X, the other co-parent, you did have to continue to voice, this is morally wrong to move into that realm and to feed our children that's morally wrong to do so, because that's true. And it's morally wrong. That's true. I like that big scary word, moral. Yeah, it's morally wrong to do so. They have to know that. And then they have to know your stance, like I've talked about before. This is my stance. And as you do that, I'm highly disappointed in you that you would do that. And it is actually showing our children something that's not morally correct to do. So at least initially, that's the action you take by using your voice to advocate.
Yeah.
So that's how I would broach that. And then as your children get older, then they can decide what they choose to do. As they become more of age, then they can decide what they want to do. But at least they had someone in their life teaching them morality and then actually showing them in behavior what morality is. And literally just morality is just non-aggression, like Jeff was saying. And then you stand up when there's something wrong. So you're just literally saying, don't steal property from other beings. That's not your right to take. It's nothing crazy or extravagant. It's just simply common sense information, and your children will recognize that moving forward. But yeah, you have to advocate.
For sure. How do you both talk to your friends, family about veganism, carnism? How do you guys?
Well, one thing I want to jump in on this, because I think this is quite interesting. A lot of folks, family and friends, will say, "Oh, you can't eat that." They say, you can't eat that. So that's how they go in their mind. And it's, so I have to take the time. I try to do it as often as I can. Sometimes I just let it go, but I have to say, no, I won't eat that. I can eat that, but I won't eat it. That's a difference. And it really echoes back on the person. They really instantly, once you say you're vegan and I do it because it's a moral reason, it instantly throws at the other person. They have to contend with their own world then. And I don't want to.
I can do whatever I want. I just have good results if I make good decisions, and I have bad results if I do bad things.
That's a perfect way to say. I never thought about that.
Yeah, so I choose not to do it.
Yeah, that's great, and I have a better life because of it. Right? That's the way of navigating. But yeah, I choose. I won't eat it, and that's yeah. It is what it is.
Jeff, what are
I hear that
your?
A lot too. I talk to everybody the same. I just try to tell the truth, regardless of who I'm talking to.
Yep, that's right. I like it.
I love that reframe of saying I won't eat that because I can. Yeah, I get that a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What other motivations can we think of besides obviously the moral one? I think we touched a little bit on it, Jeff, with your mention of the Cowspiracy documentary. But obviously there's moral benefit to veganism, but also, as mentioned in the Cowspiracy documentary, there are environmental effects, right? Like, for example, if we're not eating cows, beef, there's less land necessary to devote to feeding those cows, and so you're using up less farmland. So there's environmental impact. What other
and the smell
should one consider? Yeah,
environmentally, if you drive down up north in California, as you're driving through, there's a huge cow. What are they called? Are they? I don't know.
I
Yeah,
hate to
but
play devil's advocate, but if you drive like through Brentwood, the tomato farms smell even worse. But
I didn't. Oh, in
yeah,
Brentwood.
yeah, a lot of the tomatoes get all rotten and stuff.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the cows stink horribly. So in one
Yeah,
practical sense, you would that smell would go away. So that's nice.
yeah.
And the
You're
environment.
gonna have way less land dedicated to farmland because instead of growing the
Yes.
vegetables to feed the animals for
Yes.
life, just so you can eat them once, you just grow the vegetables to eat it yourself. And
Well, and joking aside, like the cow farts, like that's methane. That's like a greenhouse gas, right? I mean,
Mm,
there's obviously debate about the climate change thing, like that might be a psyop, right? But like,
mhm.
yeah, I think it is a psyop. But even if it is true, like, oh, the main point of cowspiracy, like, I believe the psyop at the time about like how the world's gonna end if we keep on making carbon. The carbon's a result of life. Plants breathe in carbon, but uh, anyway, like too much carbon in the environment, it might be bad. But like all the stuff we're doing with the transportation, like they want us to stop burning the fossil fuels. That's like insignificant compared to the methane from having such a unnaturally big population of cattle because they're considered livestock. Like
Yeah.
it's better to have like smaller but free populations to roam the plains like they used to.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the environment's hugely impacted by these things. And then some of like the vegan documentaries they show, I don't know, I've never been to an actual pig factory farm, so I'm speaking from what I've seen in journalism. So we'll
Yeah, I've
see,
seen them on
but
TV. It's brutal.
yeah, yeah. But then like the waste, the lakes, the ponds that are next to because all the waste runoff and how just that just constantly just pollutes. I mean, it's maybe some of it's probably organic matter from, the pig poop and stuff like that. But a lot of it's probably to the chemicals that go in on factor and mass factory farming, right? The chemicals that get injected into the animals and all that stuff, all that runoff, and then all the maybe the artificial disinfectant that's done, and all this stuff, all these high toxic chemicals to maintain that horrible system. So that affects the environment huge. Yeah, using up the land to house all those animals, that's a huge thing. When we could just be growing plants, and which would be a far better, efficient way of helping us evolve.
yeah, and you touched on another reason why one should consider veganism, health, right? Like all the antibiotics. Um, in our class, a couple weeks ago, people were like, "Oh, there's so much pesticides in veggies," and I'm like, "Y'all, like that gets concentrated if you eat meat because all the pesticide-ridden, organic matter that pig or cow or whatever ate is just being concentrated in the meat, and so you're getting like an extra concentrated dose of the pesticides."
Plus, what the animal
Obvious,
got put into, yes.
And,
Plus,
and,
what's
and the
put into the
exactly.
animal.
saturated fat makes the plaque build up in your arteries, and like most of the plant foods don't have a lot of saturated fat.
Yeah. I've always had really like low blood pressure, and a lot of my friends and family just, yeah, they're like, I don't know why I have like high blood pressure. I'm like, maybe you should consider your diet.
Yeah. I was gonna say something, it'll come to me, but keep going. But yeah, that's a huge thing, the diet. Oh, here it goes. The other thing about the health argument too is this isn't talked about much, and I've shared it before on this podcast and some other things, but what you want is the sunlight. What you're trying to get is the sunlight, and plants do an excellent job of taking in the sun along with water, and the water is actually structured water because the plant cleans it and makes it available for itself so it can grow. So the water is actually living plus the mixture of the sun. And so you're literally, when you eat a plant or when you juice, and we'll talk about that at the end, but when you juice plants, organic plants, you get almost pure sunlight. And that is what's healthy. This is what our body needs, is that sun. And as you eat it through an animal, and through who's maybe that's an animal that's predatory eats another animal, and you're eating that, it's already been consumed by the animal already, the plant eating animal. Then a carnivore eats that one, and then moving on. Like, so you're missing all the benefits of the sunlight. So why don't you just go directly to the source as much as possible, which is the plant. So that's actually what health is getting that sunlight.
Yeah, I've heard some people have achieved becoming breatharians, where they can actually get nourishment directly from the sunlight. Yeah, if you could do that, that might be the best thing. But not too many people have accomplished that. But the closest thing is like only one, I don't know, one step away from that would be like eating the plants. Plants are the breatharians. All of them are. They get their energy directly from the sun, and just eat the plant. But then you're eating an animal that ate the plant. That's like another step away from direct sunlight. And then you eat the carnivore. It's like that's something that ate the animal that ate the plant. It's even farther away from the true source of fuel that's powering our whole living planet.
And you're missing out on so much nutrition that way, so much nutrition. And then even to add on top of that, in the juicing department, when you get juices from places that will juice the plants for you, or you buy it from a store, organic juice, that's great. But most of those juicing places, or the juice you will buy, doesn't juice the skin of the plant. And what you want to juice is the skin as well. And so that's why you want to get organic plants, because you actually want to get plants that are right from the farm, because some of the grocery stores, even if it's organic, will put a wax on the skin, which is another way, because the skin carries so much power and nutrition. So what you want to juice is the whole skin with no wax on it. It's so hard to get that now, because they just keep trying to want to make the food less and less nutritionally available. But yes, juice with the skin on, that is what's really important.
Nice.
It's very important to get the fresh fruits. Like my friend grows dragon fruit, and you eat his dragon fruit, it's like such a vibrant, fruity flavor.
Yes.
But you get it from the grocery store, it's like, it's super expensive and it's bland. It doesn't even taste as good as the cheaper fruits. And the reason is like they don't want it to spoil, so they pick it before it's ripe, and they have it ripen like on the ship, or on the shelf in the grocery store, and it's ripened out of the sunlight with the artificial lights, and the flavor is just a reflection of like all that nutrition not developing properly.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Miss Commons, I mean, that's common sense. I mean, and maybe if there's someone listening, they might have something different, but that's, to me, that makes the most sense. But yeah, you want the sunlight, you want the plant to be the highest effective way of it growing, so it's the happiest, and then it grabs all that sunlight and water.
Vegans are worried about, or like people are worried that vegans like have a hard time getting enough protein, but like there's a lot of semi-processed vegan foods. I don't think they're too unhealthy. It depends on what you get. I don't want the stuff made by Bill Gates, the Impossible Meat, but I'm eating artificial meat.
What is that?
It's a Gardein bull. It's Mongolian beef. It's spelled BE''F. And this tastes better than any like fast food milkshake. It's a Vega brand vanilla flavored protein powder, and I just put almond milk and a frozen banana in it, and it's like, it's got all kinds of nutrition, all kinds of vitamins, plus 20 grams of protein.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, this question comes up a lot. It's like, people just have a failure of imagination when it comes to, protein sources. And it's like, oh, well,
Mhm.
like, oh, I can't do it because I have a nut allergy or whatever. And it's like, well, there's things you can do to slowly
Yep.
expose yourself to the nuts or whatever the allergen is to the legumes to be able to eventually um, get the plant-based protein that you need. But if that's not possible, if like tree nuts or whatever, you've tried the exposure, it's not working, there's legumes, there's the protein powders, there's yeah, all kinds of another person brought up, oh well, I'm not supposed to eat a lot of soy, and it's like, dude, you can have all kinds of tofu that aren't soy based. Like, there's just lots of
Mhm.
options.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
this
there's
awesome
lots.
YouTuber, Mary's Test Kitchen. She makes tofu out of like every type of legume.
That's awesome. Well, and also too, that's really important. This understanding of the the proper diet for veganism, for actually eating morally, and the proper diet is obviously you don't want to eat a lot of processed stuff, and more obvious, stay away from anything that's made in a lab, right? Obviously, you want to stay away from all of that. What you want is basically things that grow right from the ground and pulling from the ground and eating them. That's the idea. Um, yes, you can process plants. That's correct. Yes, you can dehydrate them. That's correct. And then grind them up and have them. Yes, you can do all those things. Um, the goal, the more healthier goal is to eat anything that's living, that's got its live water in it. That's really the end goal. But yes, you can eat terribly unhealthy and be vegan and eat
Yeah,
horrible healthy food and you'll
Oreos
get
are
disease.
vegan.
Yeah,
yeah.
correct. And
I'm
you
not
just
eating
get
so
you.
unhealthy. I got a salad also, and I
Oh,
have some
awesome.
caramelized onions and some homemade kimchi.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, you're
Good,
doing it. Yeah.
good type
So
thing.
and I'm saying, you're not, again, it's understanding what the goal is. You're trying to get a live water and live sunlight from the plant. So yes, you could get very ill eating vegan if it's not done correctly, the what you're eating. So that's number one. And number two, what Mark Passio talks about, which I think is a really good advice, is you can't go cold turkey. You have to take your time to move into the diet. And if you do
Yeah,
it rushed and you're not juicing, you're gonna get sick. And that's the piece. So as you titrate into it and you try your best to get healthy organic stuff, and I have a delivery that will do that. We can talk about that later, but healthy stuff, then you're on the good trajectory moving forward. So not only is your body, I think, living optimally, and then also morally you're living optimally. So good things will come your way then, right?
for sure. And sort of going back to the breatharian thought, I find that like I don't actually need to eat that much because when I eat like a bunch of fiber, I'm full faster, and so I don't. I eat like 1 or 2 meals a day. Like, I'm not even that hungry, so, like, I may not be a breatharian, but, like, intermittent fasting in general is, like, I feel like more of an option, when you eat more fiber, and then, yeah, going back to what you were saying, Dustin, like, um, uh, shit, I lost my thought. It'll come back to me.
It'll come to you. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Should we jump into meal ideas, or like you guys want to talk about um, what you guys eat? Or well, I mean, I guess Jeff did that.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
what I was going to say. Going back to the transition, not only will you prevent yourself from getting sick if you slowly go into it, but also you're more likely to actually become vegan that way if
Mhm.
you transition into
Mhm.
it. Like, I was vegetarian for most of my life, and it was a slow, months long
Yes.
process for me to be
Yes.
vegan. Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, I and just mentally getting in that thought process and habit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very hard for me. I mean, not very hard, but it's hard to be vegan. I mean, because yeah, there's still parts of that. Oh, I'd want to have that animal part. You know, my and you can the smell. I mean, I'm still used to sort of the smell thing. So I'm not saying this is like, for me at least, it's not something that's easy. I can do it. It's fine, and I actually enjoy it. But there's times where like, oh, that would be good, or that would go through my mind. But that's the part of yeah, I think we all have to develop that in us if we can really try really hard to develop sort of a position of saying no, and doing the right thing, even though it may not be convenient, or you may not want to do it, you still do it anyways. I think we all have to develop that in us, even though it's very hard. And a little bit of a side trail, I don't think we're obligated to do any of this. No one's obligated to be moral. No one's obligated
Yes.
to do these things.
It's a
This is a
choice. Yeah.
choice. Yeah, it's a choice because we care. We care. We don't want suffering. I want to evolve. I don't want to suffer in my life, and I would rather not have anyone else suffer,
You
because if I
contribute
see,
to the animal abuse will be
yeah,
perpetuated. Yeah, you can do what you
correct.
want, but you get a certain result based on what you do.
Correct. And that's the thing. And it's hard for us to do this. And but I think we all need to develop it inside as responsible adults to develop this and to work through it. And then you can find really yummy, healthy vegan things. And that's why I like living in Southern California, because it makes it easier. There's really cool places I can go, and the new stuff pops up. Some stuff goes out of business and some new stuff pops up. And so, it makes it a little easier for me. But if I lived like in, I don't know, like the South, in America, the South or something, and it was just like all barbecue everywhere and like veganism, and they make fun of you and all that stuff, that would be very hard for me. Florida, Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the bigger cities like Miami and stuff, but that's tough for me to imagine. I could do it. I would do it, but that's why I like this space out here a little bit. But
It became easier for me when I stopped being so strict on my diet, but I kept on being strict on my morality. I tried to be pure vegan, and
okay,
I didn't bring my lunch to work. And then that same day, they had a pizza party, and everyone was eating the pizza, and like it was so tempting. And I thought, you know what, like this is already bought and paid for. I'm hungry. I'm just gonna eat a pizza, and I'm not gonna feel guilty. I'm not gonna.
okay,
I'm not gonna hunt. I'm not gonna fish. I'm not gonna buy animal products myself. I'm not gonna own animal. I don't even like the idea of having a pet where you have to cut off their private parts so they're more compatible
yeah,
to live in a house with you,
yeah,
or declaw them or whatever. Like I, I don't want to do any of those unethical things. But if it's already done and there's a byproduct of it, yeah, you're even contributing if you pay money to perpetuate it. But if someone bought it and gave it to me for free and I'm hungry, I'll just eat it and not feel guilty. And like once in a while, that I, I get some situation where I just get some free meat that would have gone in the garbage if I didn't eat it. I might as well. That makes it less tempting. I'm not going completely without it, but in some ideal world where everyone was doing that, there wouldn't be all these slaughtered animal products. Um, but also these alternatives, like this beef I'm eating right now, it tastes just as good as real meat with, especially with all the sauce and the broccoli and rice. It's
mm-hmm,
delicious.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they're a little bit expensive compared to the real meat right now, but
Yeah,
that's because like if you mass produce something, it becomes more efficient to make it cheaper, and they're mass producing the animal products for the biggest part of the demographic is the ones who eat those. But if people stop, you're going to find a lot more delicious like vegan options that taste like meat for the people who have like really acquired a taste for meat. And um, yeah, there's plenty of whole foods. Like lentils have a lot of protein, and
yeah,
yeah,
you
like
get
some
plenty.
Indian style dal lentils. It's delicious.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep,
Uh,
that's right. And I want to reiterate again, as adults, I think that's what we have to build inside of us, a sense of saying, no, that's not the right thing to do. And even if it puts my taste buds out or makes me inconvenient for a little while, I'm still doing it anyways. We need to develop that character in us. I'm not saying we're doing this all the time or we're this big, I don't know, fancy person. I'm just saying it's a skill and a character we need to build up inside of us.
For sure. And yeah, Jeff, I want to just honor the truth of your situation and say that, like, as I was transitioning into full-time veganism, like, there were occasions where I would say, "Oh, this is going in the trash, so I'm going to eat this cheese or whatever." And it's a transition. Like, I mean, maybe someday, like as habits form, like things can change for you. But yeah, like it's hard in when you're in the society that we live in, right? Like there's this idea of like meat and potatoes, like you need a meat on your plate. And I going to the back to the topic of like solutions and meal ideas, like as a Korean American, being exposed to Korean food, a lot of Korean food is actually quite vegan, vegetarian.
Oh, great. Awesome.
It's just that, like, the way Korean restaurants are presented in Western society, it's a lot of, barbecue, but that's actually not, that's like royal food. That's not what like everyday people eat. So it wasn't like a huge cultural shift for me to eat vegan because, like, I mean, you just take the fish sauce out of the kimchi, it's the same thing. Eat tofu, eat rice, boom, seaweed, like same shit, you know? So what other foods or Dustin, what are you into for eating?
Yeah. So, well, one thing that I like is I try to find like a coffee shop that'll have like a vegan pastry. And there's a few in LA. There's one here in Highland Park. It's called Kindness and Mischief. And they have vegan donuts. And of course, they have oat milk and stuff like that. So usually in the morning, I'll do something sweet like that and have it's processed food, right? But it's a donut and with coffee, and I love it. And then, so that's something I'll do. Or like I was talking about beforehand, I make a vegan pancake in the morning. So oats, and then coconut milk with baking powder and salt. And that makes a pancake batter. And then with coarse maple syrup and then fruit. So that's one way to do breakfast. I like something sweet in the morning for breakfast. And then I try to juice, right? So there's a place that will deliver uh farm produce. It's called Farm Fresh to You. So it's here in this area. But basically it saves me the trip of going to the farmer's market. So I have it delivered to my door. That's a bit convenient, but going to a farmer's market, that's where you get direct fruits and vegetables. So with that, so then I juice. I try to best I can to juice once a week because I have that produce now. And then I juice that. So I'll have that. And then there's another I don't really like to cook that much or think about all that. There's a company called Sprinley that I just got, and they deliver meals, and they're non-cook. You don't have to cook. I mean, you heat them up, but there's no cooking and stuff like that. And so I heat them up on the stove. Don't ever use a microwave, by the
Wow.
way.
Yeah.
Don't use a microwave. Heat it up on the stove. And they have gluten-free, vegan, sometimes soy-free meals that are made. And so I get that, and they're pretty good. I do that thus far, and so I've been trying them out. So that's sort of my meal, and then juice, and then in the morning, yeah, I like something like sweet, and so like coffee and a donut or chai tea with oat milk and a donut. So that's sort of my diet. I like that, and then sometimes I have a protein powder by Garden of Life, their raw meal. I've been having that for a long time. They've been bought out by Nestle, but the product's still good, but it's raw organic powder, vanilla protein powder, but it's got all kinds of stuff in it. And again, there's no water in that, right? That's because it's been dehydrated and everything. But that will satiate me for an hour if I'm like hungry in between, or if I don't work. I used to work out a lot. I don't do it much anymore. I do small home workouts. I used to do CrossFit for about 4 years, but I stopped
Wow.
doing that because of the whole COVID's thing. And the muzzles they wanted me to wear. So, but I had more of that protein powder when I was doing that. So you can do that. There's other stuff out there, but I just try to be sensible. And then every now and then, if there's like a vegan restaurant that I might want, then I'll go there. But yeah, so that's sort of the rhythm of that. And I've actually had really good food. It's great. It's yummy. Some stuff is not the best, but some stuff is really, really yummy. And I love it. So.
I want to share another vegan pancake recipe. It's a savory pancake. You can actually grow it yourself. All the ingredients. You if you just get flour and water and let it mix it in a cup until it's like a paste type of consistency. Let it sit out overnight. It becomes like a sourdough.
Starter culture, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a sourdough starter. And you could just like feed a little bit of dough and water to it every day and keep it growing. And you could use it as a starter to bake bread, but also just like the plain batter. You pour that in a frying pan with a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick. And the second ingredient, like mine died when I went to Wyoming. I didn't water it for like a month, but these were just green onions from the grocery store. You put them in water, and like you just have them growing in your kitchen. Cut off a leaf and dice it into little pieces and sprinkle it over the pancake, and you make green onion pancakes. Just 2 homegrown ingredients.
Oh, okay. The savory. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yep. All right. Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah, you can be super creative with stuff like that.
Another thing, like if you're trying to get a lot of protein, like I encourage experiment with making the seitan, the pure wheat gluten powder. You could buy it from the store. It's just it's not very highly processed. They just get flour and mix it with water and let the starch dissolve and retain all the protein. And then they dry that and they sell it as a pure protein powder. You just mix water with it and mix different things for flavor. It's got like most of the amino acids. I think potatoes have the amino acids that they don't. So if you get like freeze-dried potato flakes, if you get the ones without preservatives, or just like a boiled potato and mix it with that, it gives it like it makes it a complete protein with all the amino acids. And the potatoes do something special to give it a good texture. It makes it so when you pull it apart, it kind of breaks apart like chicken. It gets the protein fibers.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But you could put like barbecue sauce or like whatever type of seasoning you want. Like just experiment with the flavors, make it taste good. But it naturally has a real meaty type of a texture, and it's a high protein food.
Okay.
Yeah, I like eating mushrooms. So, well, I like magical mushrooms too, but that's another podcast. But yeah, like just sauteing mushrooms, mixed mushrooms, shiitake, whatever, portobello, like just button mushrooms, and just like adding soy sauce and then like throwing it over rice with some whatever greens I have lying around.
Have you had morels?
I love morels. Yeah, those are delicious. Yeah.
You should ask Darren. Like when I lived in Michigan, I remember like you could like pick them in the wild, but they taste like meat. But I wonder if he picks them like living up there. You could probably find them.
I think my favorite. Have you guys ever had chanterelle mushrooms? Those are my favorite.
I don't know if I have.
Chanterelle mushrooms are delicious.
I think I had them as part of a medley. I don't know.
Yeah, they grow in near oak trees, and they're fucking amazing. Yeah, I do a lot of like stir fries, curries. I do like pastas because I have kids, so I have to like do something like 10 minutes or less cooking.
Yes.
For them. Yeah. There's a brand of almond milk based ricotta filled ravioli called Kite Hill that
Oh.
I think Whole Foods and Sprouts, those kinds of more specialty type grocery stores has it, but I think it's
Mhm.
called Kite Hill. But yeah, my kids don't even realize they're eating vegan ravioli. Yeah, Kite Hill.
Kite
And
Hill.
some of
Okay,
those
great.
vegan cheeses, they're probiotic and fermented just like the dairy cheese, but without the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
coconut
a
yogurt is good too. Coconut yogurt in the morning is really good with granola
Mhm.
and berries and hemp seeds and all kinds of good stuff you
Yeah.
can put on it. Mhm.
Acai bowls.
Yes, those are lovely. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Mhm. Um, yeah, so many. Hope we gave a lot of meal ideas for folks. Another thing,
Mhm.
like for entertaining, like I've done like a vegan cheese board with like hummus, vegan cheese, fruits,
Oh.
nuts,
I saw that
crackers.
picture.
Yeah, that was at a restaurant, but like if I'm
Hmm.
entertaining, that way people can have like a social experience and don't feel like they, and I find that like people are like, wow, this is vegan. Oh, yummy. Some sort of like teaching
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
little bit.
Mhm. Mhm. And yeah, a lot of folks don't when you talk about vegan, they don't like what that's gross. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're just eating plants. You've been eating plants and your whole life, plants and nuts and everything. So once they get the general concept of what it is, I think it can help them a bit. But at the onset, if you're not familiar with the term or understand this whole dynamic, you're like, is that just tofu? So it's hard for some folks to navigate that. But the understanding of veganism is more widespread now, but yes, that is they don't really know that, yeah, eating vegetables and plants and nuts, that's vegan.
Yeah. I also like coconut based ice cream. Like
Yep.
yeah, like I prefer it. I think it tastes
Mhm.
delicious.
Mhm. Mhm.
What else? I'm trying to think. I like vegan sushi a lot. You
Oh,
can get
yes,
real
yep.
creative. Yeah, there's a place near me here in Florida. They do like um, vegan caviar that they put on top of their vegan sushi. It's so fucking
Do you
Oh.
guys have
amazing. Yeah,
grocery outlet?
Yep.
Where do
I
you
think
live? You live
so.
in California too, Dustin, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, you're up
Oh, yeah.
north
Nice,
from me.
nice to meet you
Mhm.
in person. I remember just talking to you in the chat. I think it's the first time I talked to you in real time. And good to
Oh,
see you
yeah,
again,
yes.
Jerry.
Uh-huh,
But
yep.
grocery
Nice to meet
outlet,
you.
they usually sell. You said you know it too, Jerry.
Yes.
Grocery outlet.
When I lived
They
in
usually
San
sell this
Francisco,
vegan caviar. It's made out of seaweed.
yummy.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Seaweed in general is delicious and it's very
Yeah.
it has a ton of minerals. So like going back to this idea of nutrition, right? Like I think a lot of people are concerned about like, oh, there's not enough nutrition in our food. I don't think it's necessarily the food so much as our diets. Like we're in the aggregate are eating the same sort of vegetables over and over and over again. But if you can like seaweed is a whole other like there's so much iodine and what else? Yeah, just minerals and seaweed. And there's different kinds of
Yes.
seaweed.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. That's right. And a
I
good
want to start.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
I want to start growing my own spirulina. I've seen
I was just thinking
like
of
a
that.
kit you
Mhm.
could buy to grow it in an aquarium. It looks like it's pretty low maintenance and it's just like a free food. It just takes sunlight and the electricity to run the filter.
Yeah. And also that's true. And then also speaking of that, sprouts, getting your own sprouted
Oh yeah,
seeds. And that's super easy. Like you can get them like on Amazon, you can get an organic mix of sprouts. And basically it's a mason jar with
with
a
the
lid,
lid. Yeah, I've
but
got
but
one.
but the lid is great. It's a grate. It's like a
You pour
it's
out
not
the
a
water.
yeah, so you put the seeds in the thing and screw the lid on, and then you pour water it and shake it, and then dump it out, and then you put it on a stand that just lets the water drain out. And you do that every day. Well, you do a couple hours. You do it a few times during the day, and then after 6 days, you have fresh sprouts, and that's it. That's all you
Sprouts
just.
and avocado on a sandwich, or like
Oh yeah, it's
totally
brilliant.
like
And those are
Yeah.
heavy nutrition in sprouts,
Yeah.
nutrients in sprouts. But yeah, that's a way of also getting it.
Yeah, sprouts, also like sprouted breads are good. Yeah, just like
Okay.
little ways that you can add in nutrition.
Yep.
Also, I like nutritional yeast. I try to like sprinkle that on like popcorn if I'm watching a movie with my boys, you know.
Mhm.
It's a vegan Parmesan cheese.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it has B12, which is often
Yeah,
lacking in the
that's
vegan
something.
diet.
Yeah,
So you
Okay.
maybe
can
not the healthiest
supplement.
way, but Red Bull's vegan. It's got like more than 100% of the B12.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that particular, just because you got to watch out for those artificial sweeteners. Those are like, I remember listening to Kathy
Oh yeah.
O'Brien, who's an SRA,
Mhm.
satanic ritual abuse survivor, and she was like, she was put on aspartame, like she was constantly being fed aspartame. So like that's part
Oh.
of their mind control protocol.
I only
Yeah,
drink
so
the original Red Bull with the real sugar, and I choose it over most energy drinks because it's made in Austria. It's not bottled in USA where they put fluoride and everything. Like I like to get bottled drinks that are foreign because I try to avoid fluoride.
Yep, that's
It's
right.
still got a bunch of bad stuff, but it doesn't have the artificial sweeteners or the fluoride at least.
for energy drinks, I really like obviously coffee, but also yerba mate.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
Yerba
And matcha.
mate gives me the shakes. I actually try not to drink it too often because I'm just like, I feel like I've never done cocaine, but it's like what I imagine cocaine to be like.
Yeah,
There's
it
a
has a
there's an
different
energy drink
caffeine
called
profile.
Guru. It's from Canada,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
make a yerba mate one, a matcha one, and like it's all natural. Like it's basically just like carbonated, like different types of caffeinated plants.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, yerba mate is an excellent drink alternative to coffee or black tea. It has a different caffeine profile. Um, but it has what I've read, it has way more antioxidants than green tea and black tea. It's like really, really good in that realm. And but for me, it's more of a caffeine profile that doesn't peak and crash. It just sort of carries forward. Usually that's what folks might see, but yeah, that caffeine profile for you, Jerry, is yeah, that must be
It's
different
too
than
intense. Yeah.
It's got a lot of
Uh,
caffeine, that's right, yeah.
I like matcha. I feel like also like
Okay.
genetics, right? Like, we all have our genetic
Yes.
profile that like different things affect us differently.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, matcha
Correct.
works better with my body. Yeah.
Okay, yep, that's great. Yep. Yeah, again, there's all kinds of things one can do. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, any we're nearing the end of our podcast. Any like final words, thoughts on this
I
topic?
don't I don't know if Jeff froze, but what I would also recommend is that for the juicers, the Breville juicer,
Mm.
they're good. I mean, you can get really high expensive ones like a double masticating one that has like a grinder. Those are the more fancy ones, but I mean, I don't know. The Breville that I have is wonderful, and it'll do heavy fruits and even leafy vegetables. You just got to know how to sort of finagle it right, and it's decent. And so that's what I use to juicing. Juicing is a pain in the ass because you got to clean it and prep it. You got to prep the fruit and everything. So you do have to have some time on your hands, but it's still worth it. And I'm trying to keep dedicated to keep doing it. So that's sort of my journey. But if you get into that, yeah, it's really wonderful. And plus, if it has all the skin on it again, that's even better.
Nice.
I can't remember the name. It's bugging me. There's this other caffeinated plant from South America. They put it in energy drinks. They make tea out of it. It's related to tea, but it's got like high antioxidants. I think
That's
more
yerba
caffeine.
mate.
No,
Isn't
another
that?
one.
Oh, interesting.
I just can't remember. That's why I look like I froze. I was trying to look it up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that'd be yeah. If you find it, let us know because I thought it was yerba mate, but there's probably all the kinds of other ones too.
Guarana.
Not that.
Were you think?
That's another. That's not what I was thinking of, but that is another caffeinated plant
Oh,
from
awesome.
South America.
Yeah, okay. I've never had that. Yeah. That's great.
Jeff, did you have any final words, thoughts about?
I can't. I've been like trying to think of that word that's on the tip of my tongue. So.
If you think of it later, you can just tell me over Telegram.
Okay, it'll be too late for the podcast, but okay.
She could include it in her notes at the end too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad that we got to do this. I hope we gave people ideas, and also just it can be fun to be vegan. It can be tasty, you know, it doesn't and you can maintain social connections with people. And I find that like even like when I go out with my girlfriends or whatever, and like I'm ordering something vegan, like they'll want to try it, and you know, we'll share it, and they'll end up eating less meat because of the choice that I made at the table. So it's like, you know, these little spheres of influence that we have, even though it seems like it's an individual decision, like it does have ripple effects, you know? So
yes, morality does start at the plates. It does start there too, at our plate, what we eat. Yep.
Oh yeah, we can't play this because of like probably like copyright laws or something if we put it on YouTube. But I just want to say the name of that rap song that I shared with you guys before, "Making a Killing" by the Jedi Mind Tricks. Look that up. It's a great song about the animal slaughter industry.
Yep, correct. It's good.
Yeah, I'll be sure to include that in the episode description, because when I listened to that song right before we started recording, I just felt this like lump in my throat. Oh, so
yeah.
heartbreaking.
Every time I hear that, it like brings a tear to my eye. It's like it's like not the melody has some effect physiologically to make it emotional, but just like the lyrics, like it's a sad song. But,
it is.
It's a good song.
Yep.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. See you in class. Have a good
Okay,
weekend.
thank you. Yeah, appreciate the invite. Yep, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.